It's all about helping the poorest, and one thing they don't have access to is bank accounts. The fee structure, if you have small amounts of money, is just too high, and we got involved in some traditional microlending, but just didn't see how that could scale up and get inexpensive enough. So now we're involved in trying to make sure we get a very efficient digital payment structure set up for all the poorest in the world to get financial products that work for them.
What are you doing?
The idea is that typically through the cell phone, you should be able to send money to your relatives. You should be able to track the money that's coming in, set aside money to buy seeds the next year. And there are countries where this is beginning to take off. Kenya, Bangladesh, even Somalia, maybe the last country you'd suspect, up in Somaliland, almost half of the GDP is done digitally.
I don't need to tell you that the poor have been unbanked for as long as there have been banks. Why is this time different?
Well, it's really the digital revolution. The poorest have bought cows, stored gold, put currency under their mattress, but they are getting cell phones, and the cell phone capability of identifying who's using the cell phone, letting you look at your spending patterns, that's going to be common sense. People are going to have help and lots of innovative products competing on top of this digital currency platform.
So if technology, mobile phones for example, digital money, helps to increase access to financial services at the same time as it lowers the cost of delivery, why is philanthropy needed?
Philanthropy should just be here to bootstrap this. There are a lot of regulations in this area, and understanding how those regulations can make the cost of remittances, where you're sending money back to your family in your country of origin, how right now that has about a 5% overhead on it. We think we have a role to make sure that, particularly for the smaller transactions, the regulations don't impose those very high costs. Once this gets going, then we'll step up to the applications and say, okay, how does a savings application help the mother make sure money's focused on the kids? How does it help them stay in school, set money aside for the uniform or for good future planning?
Some of what you just described, the need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead, as you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And, of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. They're willing to be known. So the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it, or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering.
What kinds of people or private enterprises right now are helping to solve the same problems you're interested in?
Well, in some countries, the mobile companies have been fantastic. In a few other companies, it's been the banks. In some countries, it's a startup company that's neither a bank nor a mobile company. In Bangladesh, the bKash offering runs across any phone, and they've gotten the regulations so that they have a product that we think will get very, very pervasive. So entrepreneurs are there. The enablement this creates, if you want to put in, say, electricity in a city, collecting your bills is one of the reasons why the underspending of infrastructure in these areas is a real thing holding back the economy.
You mentioned banks. Are the legacy institutions, for the most part, banks, credit card companies, payment processors, friend or foe?
Many of them want to have these additional customers, but they have to embrace the idea that the fees are going to be a lot lower. And so they have to find a way to service these new customers. Now, that means these customers aren't going to be coming into their branches, and they can charge a higher fee when you want to actually cash out But if it's a pure digital transaction, then, you should be paying, less than 1% to move that money from you to a merchant or from you to a friend, even with meeting all the regulatory requirements.
Don't you expect them to stand in your way to protect their margins?
Well, it's a competitive field, and governments have a real interest in seeing this happen. Governments often want to make payments to the poorest, and if they can identify them and get that money out to them efficiently, countries like Mexico and Brazil have shown that's a way to lift people up. So the government, if they understand this, will usually want to create a competitive framework that draws people in to this. I think the capitalistic framework, with a little help from the government, will work well.
The profit motive will take over.
Yes, although banks are going to have to change their business model. The profits they'll be seeking will be different than the profit sources they get today.
What about the risks? Security on the one hand, and the potential for abuses like we saw in subprime on the other hand.
Yeah, the whole financial market, you can have deposits that get lost, you can have money stolen, you can have misrepresentation. All those things have to be thought through in this new model. Now, when it's tiny bits of money that are moving around, and it's more of a savings-oriented approach, the room for abuse is much lower there. But honesty, making sure that the people who really hold these deposits are able to stand behind them, some of those basic requirements will still be necessary.
Bill, a lot of people say Apple Pay is going to transform the financial services industry. What do you think?
Well, Apple Pay is a great example of how a cell phone that identifies its user in a pretty strong way lets you make a transaction that should be very, very inexpensive. So the fact that in any application I can buy something, that's fantastic. The fact I don't need a physical card anymore, I just do that transaction, and you're going to be quite sure about who it is on the other end. That is a real contribution. And all the platforms, whether it's Apple's or Google's or Microsoft, you'll see this payment capability get built in. That's built on industry standard protocols, NFC, and these companies have all participated in getting those going. Apple will help make sure it gets to critical mass for all the devices.
Have you asked or considered asking Tim Cook to help you with what you're doing?
No, the kind of basic things underneath aren't the things that Apple Pay was involved in. Apple Pay will take anybody they've signed up for the payment instrument. So they're not involved in driving the efficiency and the super, super low fees for low amounts of money. Now, of course, when we get these things, as they branch out in other countries, having interoperability for people who happen to buy their devices will be worth doing.
Here's a question for you. You were talking about wallet PCs and digital money 20 years ago in your book, The Road Ahead. How come Microsoft hasn't entered this market already?
Well, Microsoft has a lot of the banks using their technology to do this type of thing. And the mobile devices, the idea that a payment capability and storing the card in a nice secret way, that's going to be there on all the different platforms. So the vision, we've got, Microsoft had a really good vision in this. My time on this area is all foundation focused.
But you're advising Satya Nadella, the new CEO, on technology and strategy. Should Microsoft be a player in this business the way that Apple has become a player now, and Google has its own digital wallet product, and PayPal is being spun off from eBay?
It's certainly Microsoft should do as well or better, but of all the things Microsoft needs to do in terms of making people more productive in their work, helping them communicate in new ways, it's a long list of opportunities Microsoft has to innovate, and taking Office and making it dramatically better would be really high on the list there. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to help make sure they move fast on.
Is Satya Nadella moving fast enough?
I'm very happy with what he's doing. I see a new sense of energy. There's a lot of opportunity there. Some things the company isn't the leader on, and he sees that he needs to change that.
You've been outspoken on Ebola. You've donated $50 million to the fight against Ebola, and you've been more optimistic about the chances of containing and controlling the outbreak in West Africa. But we last heard from you on that subject before the patient was diagnosed in Dallas. What do you think now?
Well, I think that reminds people we do have an ongoing tragedy, and it's really awful. There's 22 million people in those 3 countries, and we need to get this under control, because not only are people dying of Ebola there, the health systems are shut down. So all the other diseases, measles, malaria, there's even more deaths taking place there. At the same time as we get it shut down in those 3 countries, we need to make sure it doesn't spread to other countries. Now, the richer a country is, if you have a good primary health care system, you should be able to handle that. So the fact that this Dallas patient was identified, the contacts are being traced, I feel confident the CDC is very much on top of that. I wish every country had a health system like that. There are parts of Africa that don't, so we're helping them build up the capacity that if a few people happen to come in with the disease, they'd be able to get on top of it. We helped Nigeria, and there was a case that went up there. Unfortunately, now all the contacts have been traced, and right now there's no Ebola in Nigeria. So the U.S. government's really stepping up on this, and I think that is going to let the world get on top of it. But we should have had better primary health care systems, and that's a long-term task. This reminds us to keep investing in.
That's a very hopeful perspective, Bill. What if people don't see it your way? What if panic takes over?
Well, I would say that if the U.S. government didn't have CDC, they didn't have the Department of Defense, they weren't working with other countries to get volunteers to come in, then the treatment capacity would not get to the point where, as people get sick, they're able to come in and be treated and not infect other people. So without this U.S. leadership on this, you could see large numbers of people, not just in these countries, but a lot of spread. So this is a very big challenge we've been faced with. I think our tools and response, our generosity is going to be up to the challenge, even though the death toll will be quite significant. I'm just impressed that the U.S. really, despite all the other world leadership things they're doing, really put this to the top of the list, and even got the Army and their top people involved. And our foundation is partnering with them to help in any way we can.
Bill, so much of the work that you do is in the developing world. It makes me wonder, what do you think of this country's prospects?
Well, the United States is an amazing country with great opportunities, and I get to see all the innovation that's taking place here. The issue my wife and I decided to focus our U.S. philanthropy on is education.
Sure.
Whether it's the economic strength of the country or the commitment to social justice, that every kid will have an opportunity to have great success. The fact that our education system is so weak, particularly in the inner cities, means that we're not exercising our full potential. So that's been a huge effort for us. It's another place where technology could come in, but we got to get the policies right. We've got to be willing to change things, help teachers learn from other teachers. It's a critical issue.
Do you see signs of improvement yet?
I see points of improvement. So the overall aggregate numbers of how good American students are at math or graduating from high school or college, those have not improved a lot in the last 10 years we've been in this. But if you go visit a charter school, you can see that the right practices are doing a great job even for inner city kids. If you go see the latest in technology, I was in New York City a few days ago seeing personalized math learning called School of One. That really has a lot of promise. So I'm optimistic about the next 10 years, but no, the reform movement has not yet made a dramatic improvement in our education, while other countries are doing a far better job.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Populous profits are now proven. Yes, you are looking at a screenshot of my actual bank account. I'm not going to show you my live bank account, of course, because I'm not stupid, but this is a recent deposit into my account, and it is profits from the Populous platform. It is a total here, right here you can see $1,391.98 in Australian dollar terms. This video is a quick one to say, yes, it's proven, and this is to all the naysayers who said that this day would never come. Well, sorry to tell you, it has.
Well, you have to figure too that, I mean, it's funding for all of these things. The banking system's dying. We got all kinds of credit freezes happening. So, a lot of these companies are going to be desperate, and thus Populous. Once Populous goes live, as we go forward, because we won't have banks, and a lot of the smart contracts will need to have a lot of these things encapsulated into machine code for them so that the smart contracts can make a decision. So when you apply for your SALT lending, maybe there will be a performance rating on previous contracts or something, or maybe there's a depreciation based on the volatility of the particular currency you want to use as collateral. Because even Populous and these other guys will end up using this service. So if PayPal were to start evolving, they would evolve to the point where they would take all of their encapsulated knowledge base, put it into smart contracts so that I, as a customer, could go to them and say, I have a fellow I want to do business with. Can you tell me what you know about the fellow? Here's my PayPal token. And it then tells me its analysis of that guy in a machine code into my contract. My contract then adjusts my business with that fellow based on what it learns.
So what the hell am I talking about? What is Populous? What does it do, etc.? I've made so many videos on Populous now. You just need to pause this video right here, head over to my playlists, or do your own search on Populous, what it is. There's many other people talking about Populous, what it is, what it does. The two videos I would suggest that you watch first. Am I still holding my PPT? Well, obviously the answer is yes, because I've just shown you I'm holding all my PPT and I'm using it to make passive income. Very quickly though, go over to populous.world and click on the invoice finance section. This is what they are and this is what they do. It's all about invoice discounting. And head over to CoinMarketCap. This is the Populous section. Its PPT is the ticker, currently hovering at about $12 USD. So how did I get here? How did I get to having this in my bank account? Let me quickly go through the process. I won't bore you too much with all the details, but basically what you do with your Populous tokens, and what a bunch of us did, is we used our Populous tokens on the Populous platform. Bear in mind, this is a beta version. It's still a beta version, but it's a live beta version where real people like you and me can use our real Populous tokens. We can use them to fund a real company's invoice. Okay, so basically this company here, the Beer Belly company, was the first to jump on the platform. They need a short-term loan of about 200,000 Great British pounds, and they have, because they have an invoice that they're waiting to get paid from a client. Does that make sense? So they're waiting to get paid from a client, but they need the money now, so they put it on the Populous platform, and people like you and me, we bid on the invoice using our Populous tokens. It's a little bit more to it than that, but that's kind of the basic gist of it for now. And then we receive our Populous tokens back plus interest. So I got a little piece of this pie right here. I didn't get this whole entire 9,580 pounds, but I got a little piece of that. And I got a little piece of it because there was a group bid. So someone started this group bid. They call it History Made, a very apt title. And let's check this out right here. A whole bunch of us, there's 16 of us in total. This is one of the first test invoices, but it was a real invoice, and we received real profits, but it was a test invoice because it's still in beta. We haven't, a whole bunch of invoices haven't gone up, but I'll talk about that in a second as well. So as you can see here, and I'm happy to show you the process here and give away how much I put up because I've already put this in public. But this is the first and last time I'm going to show you what I actually bid on an invoice and what I actually received. So first and last time you'll ever get this. So I actually put up 2,000 of my Populous PPT tokens, and with the exchange rate at the time of Populous tokens to Great British pounds, actually technically Great British Pound tokens, but that's a whole other thing. You don't need to know that. But with the exchange rate, I was able to fund a portion of this invoice to a total of £17,540. Makes sense? So 16 of us did that. Someone did £42,000 worth. Some people did, a little smaller, a little higher, in between, right? But this whole entire invoice got funded. The Beer Belly company received the £200,000. And this auction happened on the 3rd of May. Now, as you can see here, the due date for repayment of this invoice was the 30th of May. Okay, so let's head back over to Twitter. And let's go back up to here. You can find me at Joe in General, right here. So this on the 30th of May. History made, this is my little tweet here, history made, the world's first invoice sold on the blockchain has just been fully repaid. So we made the bid on the 3rd of May. The Beer Belly company repaid the £200,000 once they got paid from their client. They repaid it on the 30th of May, and I tweeted that it had been fully repaid, and the buyers, including myself, have received their real life profits. Now, how much did I receive in total? Let's go down to this next tweet right here. So this just happened. History made again. Quick video capture of the first ever transfer of Populous passive income out of the platform and into a real bank account via TransferWise. This is a company called TransferWise. I had to use them as an intermediary because I have an Australian bank account, and because the beta is still a beta, they're not set up for any other bank accounts other than UK bank accounts. So I used a company called TransferWise, set up a little a UK bank account, sort of like that, and then transferred to my own bank account. But let me just show you this right here. My profit, let me just go here and make this. Now what's going to happen, probably, hopefully not, but it might get a little blurry. But after the loan was repaid, I received all of my 2,000 Populous tokens back again, plus I received interest. And how much did I receive? I received £792.24. Now, with the exchange rate to Australian dollars, that worked out to around about almost $1,400. Okay, but I'll show you this in a sec. So I took a video capture of the time me withdrawing these 792 something pounds out of the Populous platform. So it's real. It is real money now, dudes. It's real. And into my TransferWise account. So let me just quickly show you that just to prove it. There's no sound. But as you can see here, Great British Pound tokens, but they get turned into Great British Pounds. Excuse me, I can never say that properly. Sorry, it's a little blurry. Sorry about that. It's just the internet connection, I guess. So 792 right into my TransferWise account, hitting the withdraw funds button. Whole bunch of security you've got to go through. You've got to do your 2FA, your two-factor authentication. I put in the authentication code and hit the confirm button, and bang, withdraw notification down the bottom right there. Please allow up to 24 hours for us to process your request. So that was me sending £792.24 to my TransferWise account. Okay, so let's head over here. I just really wanted to prove this to you, that this is real. Okay, so I sent that on, I don't really want to send that on May 31st. Now I received the transfer from Populous. I believe it was the next day on June the 1st. So here's a transfer from Populous World, right? This is Populous World. Cool, got it, received. 700, here you go, £792.24, real life fiat currency into my TransferWise account, and then I did make a transfer the same day from my TransferWise account to my actual real bank account in Australia. Cool. Obviously, this is not going to give away my actual full account details, right? So that's why I feel happy in showing you this. And as you can see here, I transferred £792.24, and it equated to approximately, well, not approximately, exactly $1,391.98 in AUD, Australian dollars. And they took a fee. This is after the fee. And the fee to do this, TransferWise, only charged me £3.55, and that worked out to approximately, it was approximately 0.5%. Can you imagine that? A 0.5% fee to get an international wire transfer. That's crazy. So that's the TransferWise side of things. Now, I did that. The transfer was completed on the 4th of June. So I did this over a weekend. So they would have been closed for business and banks were closed for business and all that. So if I had have done this in like concurrent weekdays, it would have taken quicker. But I received my, as you can see here, right there, I received my $1,391.98, as you can see right there. Received that on the 4th of June into my actual bank account. So that's the whole process, giving you the quick proof that the Populous platform is working. People are bidding on real life invoices and getting real life profits, and you can do so too. Call now, 1-800-Populous. But you can do it too. Now, bear in mind, please, as I said, that the Populous platform is still in its beta format. So you have to go through a verification process. The verification process is currently taking some time. Not everyone gets verified quickly. I was one of the first to get verified, so that was I feel lucky for that. But not everyone was able to jump on the invoices and bid. It was a lucky few of us at the time. But interestingly, let's just go back. The second invoice was put up by the same company, Beer Belly. It was put up yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. A lot more people were verified in that time. And I can tell you now, this was an absolute, it took about 45 seconds. Once this invoice was put up, it took 45 seconds for the invoice to be gobbled up. Now, I also was lucky enough to get a part of that particular invoice as well. I'm not going to show you that because I said it's the first and last time I show you what I bid and what my profits are. Never going to do that again. I may never do it again after this. You don't know. I may decide never to do it again, but that's first and last time I'm showing you. But what I did want to show you was this tweet here, which it was amazing. So the tweet is, well, that escalated quickly. The second ever invoice, which was this one right here, a group bid, as you can see, for a little over 222,000 Great British pounds. Second ever invoice on the Populous platform just went live and was gobbled up by a group bid. I happened to be in that group bid in about 45 seconds flat. A 200,000 plus British pound invoice funded in less than 1 minute. Yes, I think the CEO here, Steve Nico Williams, has created a monster. So if you want to invest in Populous, you are more than welcome to. $12 per Populous token. You can find it on Binance. OKX, Binance are the two largest exchanges. There's some other exchanges as well, but you probably want to head over to Binance to get your Populous tokens. Be patient because, please, the platform is in beta at the moment, so you might want to get your Populous tokens, hold on to them for now, and then wait until the platform, all the bugs are done, and then a lot more people are getting verified, and wait until there are many more companies coming on to add their invoices to get short-term loans. Or you can just try your luck now. That is up to you. But I just wanted to prove to you that the Populous profits are now proven.
I read 347 or so, okay, white papers and setups. I did not read through maybe an additional 400, okay, where I would just look at the first paragraph and say, no, this is like Hive or something, where it's a ripoff of Populous, right? Oh no, then throw it away. Just no point in looking at it. Well, some of the others too are going to turn out to just be staggering. The Populous, the pay token, and then the Populous. Those are going to be true kick-ass ones. You heard about Populous in China, right? Yeah, they've signed deals now with China to be the payment layer at certain points with Chinese officialdom infrastructure.
Nice.
So it doesn't get any better than that, Yeah.
Hey, Clif, if you had to name one coin that it would be a must-own over the next 2 months, what would that coin be?
Okay, because if we get into all right, now short term, of course, is 3 months, right?
Okay,
That's
you give
3
us
months
two.
out.
You give
Okay,
us two.
so all right. Well, I was going to say the immediacy data would have us be looking at Populous. All right.
Ah.
And, okay, and that, but it would be at the shading at the far end of that January.
Okay.
So I personally am not really looking for giant moves in Populous or in terms of the emotional attachment to it until that first part of February. A lot of stuff happens between February, in the month of February. Lots of stuff relative to this. But of course, if Populous is going to have such a move in February, they'll have had their product demoed to some extent in January, such that the confidence level goes up and we start seeing the movement there. But if we're looking in short-term data, okay, so immediacy data is 3 days out from the time that I get the data sets to the end of the third week. And so
it'd be December.
Correct. Okay. And so and I'm looking at sets now, and the immediacy data would sort of hint towards that Populous, right? Okay. But I know that once I get into short-term data is from the beginning of the fourth week out to the end of the fourth month. And in that period of time, it's like if I had to own something because I needed to convert it into fiat at the end of that fourth month or in that period of time, and I wanted to have a very large, there's going to be a lot that are just going to get very explosive, going to really jump up, all right? So we can say that, OMG coin's going to do well and this kind of thing. But the largest single invisible in our data sets gain is going to come for Veritasium. Okay, it'll hit when Veritasium is at a lowish point, and it'll have a very large disproportionate rise over the other crypto action that will also be rising up at that period of time. And the data sets are such that we're into short-term data with Veritasium. So I would think that we'd be looking, as I say, probably closer to the end of February and go from, so actually it'd be, let's see, so this would play out through summer, okay? So we'd be looking at March, April, May, June, into July, as being into the end of the fourth month from where we're at relative to the short-term data. And I would say that, yeah, I'm fairly confident that by July we'll see this first big rise up in the general cryptos, and that I'm also confident that Veri at some point within there is going to dominate that rise. So if you've got things like other coins maybe going up 12% or 20%, then in that same period of time, we should be able to look to Veri and say, oh yeah, went up 32% today. Those kind of gains, significant gains, and on a daily basis.